What's going on, guys? It's your boy Nick coming at you today on the channel. For the very first time is my Evil Eye Labrynth deck profile for post Darkwing Blast. This is the deck that I've been working on behind the scenes for quite a bit now, and I've been alluding to it in a lot of my more recent deck profiles and other videos. This is the secret sauce that I've been putting together, and I couldn't be happier to bring this deck to you guys today to showcase here for the very first time on the channel. I've been a huge fan of Evil Eye for a very long time, but haven't really been able to bring it to the channel until now. And obviously Labrynth is a newer theme that's come out of Tactical Masters, and there's actually a lot of hidden synergy between both themes. Obviously, both themes specialize in dark attribute fiend type monsters, which both Evil Eye and Labrynth have plenty of. And, you know, I've seen a lot of builds that, you know, run Evil Eye, and I've seen a lot of builds that play Labrynth, but I've never seen a build that combine the two together. So this is my 44 card list, and it's a deck that I've had a lot of fun with, actually. I've been testing with it a lot. Haven't taken it to locals yet, but I do plan on doing so, and I will let you guys know how that goes. But, without further ado, I want to go ahead and showcase you guys this deck list today. Like I said, Evil Eye Labrynth is a deck that I've been working on for quite a while, and I'm really happy to finally be able to bring it to you guys, to the channel. So for those of you that are new, welcome. My name's Nick. We do deck profiles, live duel videos, and all kinds of Yu-Gi-Oh content related around like rogue style of decks. So if those are things that you're interested in, then I highly encourage you to hit that subscribe button, because we're working our way to 1,000 subscribers, and I cannot do it without your guys' help. So to jump right in head first, we're playing triple copies of Yugioh, Watcher of the Evil Eye. This card is pretty straightforward. Basically, when it's normal summoned, you can add an Evil Eye card from the deck to your hand, except a copy of itself. So this is your obligatory, you know, Rhoda or Searcher of the deck. Whenever you normal summon Yugioh, you get to add any Evil Eye card from deck to hand, which I think is pretty cool. Then, while it's equipped with Evil Eye of Selene specifically, Yugioh has a quick effect where he can target a special summon monster the opponent controls and destroy it. However, there's a bit of a drawback where if you use that effect on your next standby phase or the next standby phase, you have to destroy a card you control, and that's a mandatory effect. So, for those of you who don't know how Evil Eye work, Evil Eye revolve around this equip spell called Evil Eye of Selene, which we'll dive into a bit later in the profile. But all of the Evil Eye monsters gain additional effects, or at least most of them gain additional effects when they're equipped with this equip spell. And yeah, so that's how Yugioh works. So you play 3 of that, obviously. Very strong card and helps, you know, deck thin and search what you need. 1 copy of Medusa, Watcher of the Evil Eye. She is, I would say, worse than Yugioh, but comes up like mid to late game. And that's why we don't max out on her, we just play 1 of her. When she's normal summon, she can add an Evil Eye card from the graveyard back to your hand, except a copy of herself. So again, she's able to recur resources for you mid to late game if the duel turns into a bit of a grind. And while she's equipped with the Evil Eye of Selene, she, as a quick effect, can target a monster in the opponent's graveyard and banish it. So she becomes like a DD Crow on legs of sorts, which I think is kind of cool. However, if you use that effect during the standby phase of the next turn, you have to banish a monster out of your own graveyard. That's another mandatory effect. So what's interesting is that, like, the way Evil Eye works is they'll give you like beneficial effects, but then there'll be like weird like costs or drawbacks that you'll have to come across later. And I think it's a very unique playstyle. I don't know a lot of decks in Yu-Gi-Oh that function that way, but Evil Eye is one of those decks, and I appreciate it so much. Now, I am aware that Evil Eye is getting new support coming in Photon Hypernova. However, I will have to re-update the deck once that new support arrives. But for the time being, this is the list that we decided to go with. So we're on 1 copy of Basilius, Familiar of the Evil Eye. This card is the only extender that Evil Eye has, aside from another card that you'll showcase next. But it's it can special summon itself while you control an Evil Eye monster, and then during the main phase, you can send an Evil Eye spell trap from your deck to the graveyard. So it'll take a Foolish Burial Goods on legs, and a free summon, which is pretty nice. Then we're on 1 copy of Catobleepus, Familiar of the Evil Eye. It's another level 3 Dark Fiend, and it can target an Evil Eye spell trap you control, and until the end of the next turn, that card cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. I think once, which I think is pretty cool. So it gives your Evil Eye spell traps some form of protection at least. However, if you control an Evil Eye monster, you can special the Cattle Bleep Ass from the graveyard. So it's another extender just from the grave rather than from the hand, unlike Basilius. But regardless, oh, and then both cards will, he will banish himself when he leaves the field after using that effect. But that's fine, because if you consolidate them into an Xyz material, that won't be the case, obviously. But moving on, into our Labrynth package, we're on triple copies of Ariana Grande, aka Ariana the Labrynth Servant. She is your obligatory searcher for the Labrynth half of the deck. When she is normal or special summoned, she lets you add a Labrynth card from the deck to your hand. So she's got a little bit more flexibility there, whereas Yugioh can only trigger upon normal summon. She can trigger when normal or special to search you for a Labrynth card. Then she has another effect where if another monster leaves the field by your normal trap's effect, except during the damage step, you get to draw a card. Then you can apply the following effect. You can either, from your hand, special summon a fiend monster or set one spell trap. So during your turn, or whenever it is that you summon her, she'll like search you, get you a plus, and then whenever a normal trap that you activate causes a monster to leave the field, she can net you an additional draw, plus the ability to special summon a fiend from hand or set a spell trap from hand, which is really, really cool. So triple copies of Ariana. She is the best Labrynth card in my opinion. And then here we come to the what amounts to be the second best Labrynth card, and this is brand new out of Darkwing Blast. This is the Lady Labrynth of the Silver Castle. This card is absolutely insane. One of the strongest support cards I've ever seen for a trap-based deck. Pretty much, she cannot be targeted or destroyed by the opponent's card effects while I control a set card. Also, if a Labrynth card or effect, or the effect of a normal trap card is activated, I can special summon her from my hand in defense position. So obviously we play Labrynth, so we can activate Labrynth cards and effects, but if a normal trap's activated, I can special her as well. Keep in mind, it doesn't even have to be your normal trap. It could be your opponent's, and she could still special summon herself to the field, which is absolutely insane on a 3,000 attack body, 2,900 defense. Very, very strong. Combo that off with the fact that as a quick effect, whenever a normal trap is activated, I can set a normal trap with a different name directly from my deck to my side of the field. She helps you toolbox basically any normal trap in the game, as long as you main deck it. Insane card. I can't believe that this is finally here for the TCG. Very strong. It's definitely going to push Labrynth in, I would say, the right direction for sure. Moving on, though, we're on one copy of Lovely Labrynth of the Silver Castle. She's the other big level 8. Now, unfortunately, unlike Lady Labrynth, she cannot special summon herself, so you kind of have to rely on some of your other card effects in order to field her. However, once she's on the board, your opponent cannot activate monster effects in response to your normal trap cards activations, which is really strong. Then she can target a normal trap in your graveyard and reset it to your side of the field, but that trap cannot be activated unless you control a fiend monster. So she can constantly keep resetting your traps from grave back to your side of the board, just giving you just free resources every single turn. And not to mention, when a normal trap forces a monster to leave the field, I can either destroy one card on the field or from my opponent's hand at random at resolution, which I think is absolutely cracked. So as a one-off, she's perfectly fine. I haven't had any issues with her whatsoever. Obviously, Lady is the better of the level 8s, but, you know, combined, if you have them all on field, your opponent's just having a really, really terrible time. But moving on to the rest of the monsters that we main deck, we're on one Labrynth Stovey and one Labrynth Chandraglier. Hopefully I'm not butchering those. Pretty much these cards, they can discard themselves as quick effects along with another card from your hand to be able to set a Labrynth spell or trap from the deck directly to your field. So they help you dig deeper into your deck, and whenever a monster leaves the field by your normal trap effect, Stovey can special summon himself from the graveyard, and then Chandraglier lets him add himself back to your hand from the grave. So they can constantly keep giving you free resources, either to hand or field, depending on what's going on or where the state of the game is. But either way, they're two very good cards, and we play one of each of them just because, like I said, they're additional names, and they help get you to some of your Labrynth trap cards much, much faster. And then for the last monster we main deck is two copies of Absolute King Backjack, because we do play a healthy amount of traps in this deck, and Backjack just being able to excavate the top three, rearrange stack our draws for the next 3 draws, and then being able to quick effect banish himself from grave to set a trap that we excavate and that trap can be used the same turn. It's just the most perfect synergy. So triple Absolute King Backjack. But now we move into the spells. Triple copies of Evil Eye Domain Pareidolia. This is the Evil Eye Field spell, and upon activation, you can add an Evil Eye monster from deck to hand. Then, it's got another effect where it's like during the damage calculation, if the opponent's monster battles, both of us take the damage. That effect seldom comes up, to be quite honest with you. But the third effect that this card has does come up. And that is, if this card is destroyed, I can target an Evil Eye monster in my graveyard and add it back to my hand. So it gives us a plus on activation, and then potentially a plus when it's dealt with, either by us or by the opponent, which I think is pretty cool. But moving on to the star of the show here is 2 copies of Evil Eye of Selene and 2 copies of Evil Eye of Gorgoneo. Now we're going to talk about these cards together. We'll start with Selene first. It's an equip spell, and it can only be equipped to an Evil Eye monster specifically. However, while that Evil Eye monster is equipped, it cannot be destroyed by battle or the opponent's card effects. Also, the opponent cannot target it with card effects. So it pretty much makes your monster like untargetable and indestructible. It forces your opponent to clear that monster through very specific means. Also, each time the equipped monster's effect activates, or I activate another Evil Eye spell trap, while Selene is equipped to a monster, I lose 500 life points, but then the equipped monster gains 500 attack. And that attack boost sticks, even if Selene leaves the field. Also, keep in mind, that's not once per turn. So what's interesting about this theme is that whatever you equip with the Selene will constantly get stronger at the cost of your own life points. So like you're basically killing yourself to give your monster like almost infinite power, so to speak. And I think that's a really cool form of playstyle. Granted, it can be a little dicey at sometimes because, you know, you're getting your life to a certain like point where it's, you know, can get dangerously low. But at the same time, you should have a monster on field with copious amounts of attack. And your opponent's just going to have a very hard time clearing it. What's also cool about Selene is that you can, has a graveyard effect where you can banish an Evil Eye spell trap from your graveyard to reset the Selene as well by paying 1,000 life points back to your side of the field. So even if the opponent clears the Selene, you can easily reset it back from the graveyard off of its own effect. And then keep in mind, both Cerziel and Medusa have effects, additional effects while they're equipped with the Selene, which is pretty cool. But now moving on to Gorgoneo. Gorgoneo is another equip spell for the theme. This you can also equip it only to an Evil Eye monster. However, you can only activate one Evil Eye of Gorgoneo once per turn, and Evil Eye of Gorgoneo's name becomes Evil Eye of Selene while it's in the spell trap zone. Now that's relevant because, like I said, if you equip Gorgoneo to one of your Evil Eye monsters, they gain their additional effects as if they were equipped by Selene. And also, there's a lot of spells and traps that care about the name Evil Eye of Selene being in the spell trap zone. So that's very, very helpful. But Gorgoneo works a bit differently than Selene does. It doesn't grant the monster the protection that Selene gives it, but what Gorgoneo does is it increases the monster's attack based on the difference in my life points to my opponent's. Now, since we pay so much life to run cards like Selene in this deck, we could easily put ourselves at a very low threshold of life. And if we activate Gorgoneo, our monster gains the difference in our life points in terms of attack, which is just absolutely cracked. Then not to mention, Gorgoneo has a very strong graveyard effect where while it's in the grave, you can banish it from grave to discard an Evil Eye card and then add an Evil Eye spell trap from the deck to your hand. So it almost functions like a pseudo searcher. This is also one of the best targets to send off of Basilius's effect as well. So that's wraps it up for the Evil Eye equips. Now we're going to jump into some Evil Eye one-ofs, spells, Evil Eye spells. We're on 1 Awakening, 1 Confrontation, and 1 Repose. Awakening basically is like a monster reborn of sorts. It allows you to special summon a Evil Eye monster from your hand or graveyard. However, if you control Evil Eye of Selene in your spell trap zone, you can special summon an Evil Eye monster from your deck instead. Confrontation is a quick play spell. Think of it like a Mystical Space Typhoon. You target a spell trap the opponent controls and destroy it. However, if you control Evil Eye of Selene, you can banish that spell trap instead of destroying it. And then Evil Eye Repose is a continuous spell. When you activate this card, you can banish an Evil Eye card from your graveyard to draw 1 card. And then once per turn after damage calculation, if your Evil Eye monster equipped with the Evil Eye of Selene attacked an opponent's monster, you can banish that opponent's monster. So pretty cool on that. And then it's got a third effect where if this card in the spell trap zone is destroyed by a card effect, you can target 3 of your banished Evil Eye cards and return them to the graveyard. So again, gives you some much needed recursion on that. And that's it for the Evil Eye spells. Now we're moving into the Labrynth spells, which we only play 2 of, and it's 2 copies of Labrynth, which is the field spell for the theme. Pretty much what it does is it gives an additional effect to any welcome Labrynth traps activated, and that effect is, at resolution, you can destroy a card on the field, non-target by the way. Then, if we activate a non-Labrynth normal trap, except during the damage step, we can special summon a fiend monster from the hand or the graveyard. So this field spell, I think, is pretty slept on. It's like a monster reborn. Like, every time you activate a normal trap, you get to revive a fiend for free. And then if you activate a welcome Labrynth trap, or any trap with welcome Labrynth in the name, at resolution of that trap, you get to destroy a card on field, non-target. So pretty cool on that. This field spell works wonders and helps you get some of your higher level Labrynth monsters on field. But now we're moving into the hefty trap lineup we play. So now we're running triple copies of Archfiend's Ghastly Glitch. Now this is not a Labrynth card in name, even though it depicts them in the artwork, but it's one of the best, I think, Fiend-related normal traps I've ever read. And what it does is if we control a Fiend monster, we can target any card on the field as cost, destroy it, and then we can send a Fiend monster from the deck to the graveyard. So this is pretty much targeted removal plus a Foolish Burial attached to it on a normal trap that's not even once per turn. And the only stipulation is that we have to control a Fiend. Very, very strong card. I can't understate how amazing this trap card is. Then, of course, we're on triple copies of Infinite Impermanence, just being a hand trap of choice here in this deck. Obviously, it's a normal trap, so it just has great synergy with the rest of the theme, especially with Lovely Labrynth being able to constantly reset this card from our graveyard back to our field, not only negating monster effects, but also blanking spells and traps that the opponent might have. We're on 2 copies of Welcome Labrynth. Now, I've been torn with the ratios on this card. I was playing 3 of it at one point, but I cut it down to 2 of, just because I felt that at 3, it just seemed like it was too much. Like, once you have one of these in rotation, you really don't need the other one, especially when you factor in that Welcome Labrynth can constantly keep resetting itself back to your side of the field off of its own effect. When a normal trap makes a monster leave the field, it can reset itself from grave. And then plus, not to mention, like, all the searchability you have. Like, you have triple Ariana, plus the Stovey, and the Chandraglier that can fetch this card from deck. So I just felt that 2 copies is fine. It lets you special summon a Labrynth from your deck, so it's almost like an in-archetype E-Telly of sorts. However, you're locked into Fiends until the end of the next turn, but realistically, that's not even a problem because most of the things we play are Fiends anyway. So 2 copies of that. Then we're on 2 copies of Evil Eye Defeat. This is an Evil Eye trap, very strong. It's pretty much a compulsory evacuation device. It states that if you control an Evil Eye monster, you can target a monster on the field, or up to 2. Instead, if you control Evil Eye of Selene in your spell trap zone, return them to the hand. So, at minimal, it's a compulse for any monster on the board, which obviously triggers a lot of your Labrynth effects. But if you have Evil Eye of Selene in the back row as well, you can return up to 2 monsters. And I like how it says up to 2, so it gives you that flexibility. Whereas, like, if it just said target 2 and your opponent didn't have 2 monsters, then this card couldn't be activated. But because this is up to 2, you can it's very flexible. So you can pick and choose what you're returning to hand. Very strong removal, and the fact that it's searchable. Like, you have a searchable compulse basically because it's Evil Eye in name. So really, really strong card, and it definitely is what helps bridge the gap between the Evil Eyes and the Labrynths, of course. Then we're on 2 copies of Terrors of the Overroot, another normal trap. You target a card your opponent controls and a card in their graveyard. Send the targeted card on the field to the graveyard, and if you do, set the other card from the graveyard to their side of the field. So pretty much just like a switcheroo. You target a card on their board and a card in their grave, and they switch places. Very unique, because it's targeting, but it sends. It doesn't destroy, so that's also really cool too. Very unique trap card, and it's been working out quite well. Then we're on 2 copies of IDP, again, just as another really strong normal trap that has the ability to remove monsters on the field. And then for the one-ofs, we're on 1 copy of Fair Welcome Labrynth. This is another searchable Labrynth card. When a monster declares an attack while we control a fiend, we can target a card on the field, negate the attack, and if we do destroy the targeted card, then we can set a non-Labrynth normal trap from our hand or deck to our side of the field. Really strong card, but because it's battle reliant specifically, it loses a lot of its value in my opinion, so that's why we're just on the 1 copy. And then for the last card in the deck, again rounding out the 44 card total, is 1 copy of Evil Eye Retribution, which is a counter trap for the Evil Eye theme. Whenever a spell trap card is activated while we control an Evil Eye monster, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. Then if Evil Eye of Selene's in the spell trap zone, This card's activation and effect cannot be negated. To be honest, that seldom comes up. I don't even know why the clause is there. Like, it's already a counter trap. So, like, there's not many things your opponent can chain to this anyway. But I guess, you know, in the event that they have, like, a Solemn Judgment or something and you have Selene out, they can't Judgment this, which is kind of cool. But either way, that rounds out the main deck, guys. Again, at 44 cards. Now we're going to jump into the extra deck. We're on one copy of DDD Stone King Darius. This is just a generic rank 3. Well, not generic. It's fiends specifically, but generic for us. It's a rank 3, requiring 2 level 3 fiends. We barely use this card's effect. I'm going to be completely honest. What we mainly use this card for is to facilitate the summon of another DDD card, which we'll get to a bit later in the extra deck. But just one copy of Stone King Darius. We make this off of the level 3 Evil Eyes, which are Basilius and Cattle Bleep S. And then once we get the new Evil Eye, I think it's Basilatris, coming in Photon Hypernova. That'll just be another level 3 monster we can use to help facilitate this, which will be pretty cool. One copy of number 41 Baguska, because it is a fiend, so when we're fiend locked, we can still go into this. And honestly, Baguska still hoses the living hell out of some decks. Like, there's a lot of decks that still can't play through this card, which is pretty unique. Then we're on one copy of Exciton Knight. This is a discount Divine Arsenal Zeus, especially if you're fiend locked. You can still make this, and it pretty much does like what Zeus does in a way. Then we're on one copy of Raiders Knight. If we're not fiend locked, we can summon this relatively easily, and then use Raiders Knight to make Arc Rebellion Xyz Dragon, which is basically like a Dark Ruler No More on legs, and gains the attack of all the monsters on the field. So this will usually spell doom for your opponent if you can get into this. Then we're on the DDD Divisor King Deuce Machinex. This is why we're playing the DDD Stone King, because we can go Stone King and then overlay the Divine Deuce King Machinex over the Darius, and now we have a really strong monster by just using a couple of weenie level 3s. And what Divisor King Deuce Machinex does is as a quick effect, whenever the opponent activates a monster effect, and this is once per chain, mind you, you can detach 2 materials and take that monster and equip it, or not equip it, but attach it to this card as a material. Mind you, this card is a 3,000 beater, and you have the ability to effectively do that 2 times, because when you make it through the Darius line, you have 2 materials under the Darius, plus the Darius himself. So, actually, no, I'm sorry, that's only 3 materials. What am I talking about? Either way, though, you guys get the gist. This card's really, really powerful, so run it. Then we're also on number 77 of the 7 Sins. This, I'm going to be honest, is a total flex. You don't need to run this card whatsoever. If you want to take this out and run like Nightmare Griffin or literally anything, you can. We just play this because you have the ability to make this using Divisor King Deuce Machinex as the material, and then all the materials under Machinex become materials on 7 Sins. And 7 Sins is really funny because he can detach 2 materials to banish all special summon monsters the opponent controls, and then attach one of those monsters to himself as material, and then if he would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can detach material on a 4,000 monster that's also a fiend, so you can still get into this if you're fiend locked. So pretty cool, something I've been messing with, but again, total flex spot. Then, moving into the links, 2 copies of Gorgon, Empress of the Evil Eye. She is amazing. She requires 2 monsters, including an Evil Eye monster. And she gains 100 attack for each Evil Eye card in your graveyard with a different name. But while she's equipped with Evil Eye of Selene, she's pretty much an effect veiler on legs as a quick effect, which is pretty strong, in my opinion. And then also, too, during the next standby phase after her negation effect was used, you can destroy 1 monster that she points to. So you can set this up where it's pointing to an opponent's monster, and not only will you get a negate, but you'll get a free pop for your troubles, which is pretty cool. Then we're on Muckraker of the Underworld, or from the Underworld, excuse me, brand new out of Darkwing Blast as well. Really strong generic Link 2 for Fiends. She serves as like a Monster Reborn, but she discards a Fiend as part of the effect, not for cost. So there are some instances where that's relevant, but for the most part, it's just a generic Link 2 we can make that serves as a Monster Reborn. Then we're on 1 Nightmare Phoenix again, because the Nightmares are actually Fiend monsters. 1 Dark the Dark Charmer. If we can go into this, if we're not Fiend locked, there's some pretty amazing things this card can steal, which is nice, and help us Link climb. And then 1 Zerziel, Ruler of the Evil Eye. This is the Evil Eye Link 3. We don't really go into this as much. I feel that'll change once the new Evil Eye support comes out, but for the time being, this card is a 1-of in the extra deck is perfectly fine. It has the ability to attack up to 2 times per battle phase, and then while it's equipped with Selene, it can quick effect target any card on field and destroy it. and then during the next standby after that effect was used, it negates any card it points to, which is pretty amazing. Then we're on 1 Unchained Abomination, and then 1 Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. Again, both really amazing Fiend Link monsters, 1 Link 4, 1 Link 5, respectively. So when we're Fiend locked, we still have some pretty cool stuff to go into. So that rounds out the extra deck, guys. And then real quick, before we end the profile, we'll jump through the side deck here. So we're on triple Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood. And you guys are probably like, what the actual hell? You have to understand that the way Evil Eye plays, if you have the Selene engine running well, you're losing a lot of life in a relatively short amount of time. And there's situations where, you know, you don't want to kill yourself off of your own cards because you have the potential to. And Spooky Dogwood kind of mitigates that a bit, where you can, if you side into this post game 1, if you really double down on the Evil Eye what Selene plays, you don't have to worry so much that you're going to, like, kill yourself. Plus, not to mention, going into game 3 into time, she's actually a very strong hand trap, and something that your opponent probably won't expect. Like, you can go second, the opponent goes first, you activate this while they're in, like, mid-combo, and now you just gained a bunch of points, time is called, and now you win because you had a higher life total. Kind of sacky, but hey, I mean, I didn't make the time rules, Konami did, but so take it up with them. But moving on, triple Lava Golem. Again, Lava Golem, I think, moving into this upcoming format, especially once Kashtira gets their next wave of support, cards like Golem and just things that, like, tribute are going to be very, very invaluable. Yes, I'm aware that, like, this robs us of our normal summon, but that's not really a problem when we have cards like Welcome Labrynth that we can search and then, like, generate advantage during the opponent's turn. You know, like, I'm totally fine with Lava Goleming my opponent and then, like, set, like, 3 to 4 back row pass. Like, I have no issues with that whatsoever. And Golem's a pretty good card, obviously. And then we side into 2 Evil Eye Confrontation and 1 Duster in the side. Again, for our heavy back row matchups or Floodgate matchups. Confrontation, again, is just searchable spell trap removal, like an MST, or a Cosmic Cyclone if you control Selene. And then Duster is obviously really, really good. So if we go up against the deck that has a lot of, like, Floodgates, back row, Mystic Mine shenanigans, we can side into some back row removal. Then we side triple copies of Chain Hole. This is a very cool normal trap that I discovered recently, and it states, when your opponent activates a monster effect in response to a card or effect activation, any card or effect, mind you, you can negate that opponent's effect, then your opponent can banish 1 card from their hand or deck with the same name as the negated card. However, if they choose not to, then I can banish a random card from the opponent's hand. So basically, like, it's pretty wordy, but what it means is, like, if I activate any card or effect and the opponent chains a monster effect in response, I can chain Hole as Chain Link 3, negate their monster effect, then force them to banish any other copy of that card that they may have, and if they choose not to, I get to banish a card out of their hand at random. So I thought that was kind of, like, cute, and it's, again, a normal trap, so I can constantly keep abusing it through the Labrynth engine. And then for the last card we side deck is triple copies of Boo Boo Game. This is really, really cool post game 1. Once our opponent realizes that, like, we're playing hefty back row, you can assume that they're going to side into their back row removal. And what's nice about Boo Boo Game is its on-field effect won't really come up as much. It has the opportunity to, obviously, because we do pay so much life again through our Selene combos that if we set ourselves up where we're low enough, the opponent might try and push for game. This can mitigate any battle damage we take, almost like a Karibo for its on-field effect. But again, that's not really what we use it for. What we use this card for is, if this set card in our control is destroyed by an opponent's card, we can target up to 2 normal traps in grave with their different names and reset them to our field. So that's amazing. Let's say we set 5 pass, and one of the cards we set was Boo Boo Game, and, like, we get, like, Dustered off the rip or Lightning Stormed. We get to target at least 2 of those destroyed traps in the graveyard and reset them back to our board, which is pretty cool. So Boo Boo Game in the side for this deck I felt was really, really cool. And that's going to wrap up the Evil Eye Labrynth profile, guys. So leave a comment down below on what you thought of the profile. Like the video if you haven't, and subscribe, please. I'm working so hard to get to 1,000 subscribers, and I really would appreciate it if you're watching this video right now and you haven't subscribed, to smash that subscribe button, because I will continue bringing you guys really cool and unique deck profiles. But with that being said, stay tuned. Now that I've gotten, like, the Ninja Crawler video the Mutant Goatee and now Evil Eye Labrynth profiles up on the channel. Expect combo tutorials and test hands for each of those decks individually, and then once I get those up, expect live duel videos with these decks in action. So again, thank you all so much. Hopefully you enjoyed the profile, and see you in the next one.